I have been working with volunteers for about 9 years. I have been a volunteer since I was a teenager, and lots have changed since then as far as technology goes. But our organization has been around for almost 40 years, and we've just now gotten to where we're using some software, and it has made a world of difference. So I'm excited to kind of walk y'all through what I went through and hope that will help y'all make whatever decision you're going to make. So thanks for having me. So the timing of when we switched over to using this volunteer management system was really good, because I don't think I'd be able to do it all without the help of that. We've been using volunteer impact, better impact, my impact, depending on which part you're using. It has a little bit different name, but we've been on that for about 2 years. And before that, I am impressed that there are so many people that have other volunteer management systems. We did not. We were on paper and Excel spreadsheets, and it was not fun. But we have been really excited about this, and I'm excited to share kind of how we utilize it. Okay, so like I mentioned with our process that we were doing, it was all in paper spreadsheets. For, I guess, we've had volunteers since the inception of our organization. So for almost, I guess, 35 years, if you take out the 2 years we've been using Better Impact. We were using paper and spreadsheets. Before they used Excel, I don't know what they used. I guess it was all just on paper. But for those of you that are not familiar with hospice care, we're actually required through Medicare to have at least a 5% volunteer match with our direct patient care. So the easiest way to explain that, we'll just use 100. So if we had staff members that were seeing patients for 100 hours a month, we would have to match that with 5 hours of volunteer. So it's very crucial that we keep track of all of this stuff, because if we don't, then Medicare is going to say, here, give me money back. In saying that, we were going through all of our handwritten paper. We had our volunteers coming in and they were signing in if they remembered. When they would go and see patients, they would maybe remember to bring us their paper note. Sometimes they would email us. We would also sometimes have volunteers that were mailing in their information. And a lot of times it was just a guesstimation, because they would leave the visit or leave what they were doing and, oh yeah, I forgot, I need to tell you. So I really will say, I think we had talked about moving into some sort of management system before COVID. And there was always like that, would our volunteers be willing to do it? Would they get on board? We started looking into this, especially when people were out of the office so much, because we were doing a lot more where we weren't seeing them face to face. We needed something. So we started our software journey in about 2021, which, like I said, was right in the middle of COVID, trying to figure out what we were going to do to stay, number one, to stay in touch with our volunteers, as they weren't in the offices often. And then also, we are CHAP accredited, which is the accrediting body for our Hospice of Wichita Falls. And we had just gotten audited. And one of the things that they look at is personnel files as far as volunteers too. And we wanted to find a better way to be able to keep that all in one place. So we will be getting audited again in January, and I'm much more comfortable, because I know when they come in and they say, here, I need a list of all your active volunteers. Okay, 2 or 3 punches, here's your list. The reason that we went with volunteer impact is we looked at several others. It's super simple from the volunteer side. We wanted something that was going to be easy to roll out to our volunteers, knowing that they weren't really going to like change anyway, and that we would also be able to use, that was easy for us on our end. So we knew what we needed, and we wanted to find something that met all of those needs. And for us, that was Better Impact. And then the client impact, we needed to find something that was HIPAA compliant, because you were talking about confidentiality and security. For us, it's all about HIPAA. And so I worked with our IT department to make sure that this was going to be what we could utilize that at. The app for the phone, we love that, because the volunteers, again, don't have to come into the office. You can talk to them on the phone and say, hey, go to your client, check your information, and there's where you need to know. That way they're not carrying around papers and sticky notes that have the information on it that could get lost. As long as they have a password secure phone, then we can share that with them on their app. The customizable application forms were really neat because we have a teen program and an adult program. So we were able to separate those type of applications, because for an adult volunteer, we don't need to know what grade they're going into or what activities they do at school. But for a teen, we obviously want to know that. And then also within that we add, and this is probably preference, we add information of like patient likes, anything that would be good for the volunteer to put in there. There's a section that when you assign a client to a volunteer, that's a set of notes that they can see, the volunteer can see. That's been really helpful for them as well.